They're trying to cancel Dave Chappelle again for what he did on Saturday Night Live, which was make fun of Kanye West and how anti-Semitic he is. Bringing up how Kanye West said, I want to go DEFCON 3 on the Jews, which sounds terrible even me saying it. And he acted like Kanye West saying, I can say anything anti-Semitic I want to, and Adidas can't drop me. And I'm going to block this, but he said Adidas did drop him immediately. Not saying that word. And ironically, Adidas was founded by World War II Germans. World War II Germans. Quite the irony there. Because World War II Germans were the most anti-Semitic things in existence. Heck, even Michael Rappaport said that this is ridiculous, people shouldn't be offended by Dave Chappelle, and stop trying to cancel him. And Michael Rappaport is Jewish. Listen, I personally like Dave Chappelle. I love his comedy. I don't like the takes he had on trans people. But do you guys think he needs to be canceled?
This nigga, man, he can't miss. Every time this nigga open his mouth, somebody gonna get offended. The Anti-Defamation League is yo, that's the new funny shit about being canceled too. Them niggas don't even be having no actions like that. Instances like they just like, it's not even like, yo, with Kanye, it was like he lost his deals. Kyrie is like he lost his deals. Dave Chappelle, who's not signed to nobody, it just comes out as, yeah, these nigks is mad. like, what are you gonna do, nigga? You know what I'm saying? Take away my birthday, like Louis C.K. said. Like, you feel me? Like,
that's a fact.
That's kind of like, I don't want to, you know, for our people that didn't see the last episode, I don't want to reference the last one too much, but that's kind of going back to what I said about like Kanye being just signed to everybody. It's like when you see a nigga like Dave Chappelle come out and run his mouth, you know what I'm saying, how he want to run his mouth, even though I don't feel he said anything offensive. Yeah. It's like, y'all niggas can't take no deals from me, nigga. You feel what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like, I'm not losing nothing. Y'all niggas just gonna buy the next special, nigga.
Exactly.
And I'm gonna collect these Saturday Night Live royalties.
100%, man. Nah, Dave Chappelle, as usual, you know, came out with the Bomb Diggity Snapper monologues. And, yeah, man, he said a lot of real shit, man. He said a ton of real shit, man. And, the funniest thing is that like he like it always takes a comedian, and it sucks sometimes because niggas is just so like hell bent on being offended. Sometimes it takes a comedian to open up the dialogue, and the dialogue was similar to a conversation that I'd had with somebody. It's just like the fact that I don't think it's racist to say that there's Jews in Hollywood. Right? There's a lot of Jewish people in Hollywood. I think it might be a little weird to say, and even Dave Chappelle acknowledged this. He said, I think it might be a little weird to say it. Like, it's not weird to think it. Like, it's not weird to have the thought in your mind. And I was just thinking earlier today, man, a lot of motherfuckers, sometimes I don't say every single thought in my mind. Right? Because sometimes I don't want to be looked at as crazy. Because sometimes my mind has weird ways of connecting certain things together. And I'm just like, you know what?
Intrusive thoughts, all that shit.
Yeah, motherfuckers ain't going to understand this thought. So I might as well just keep it to my goddamn self. But yeah, man. Dave Chappelle, man. Always dropping the facts.
Well, what do you think they have to be mad about? Like, let's try to get into their mind. Yeah. Before we state the obvious, like what is this just a headline for the Anti-Defamation League, or is there any like what could they have held on to where it's like this is they said he was desensitizing anti-Semitism.
Yeah, well, see that's the kind of the weird aspect, right? Because it's like if someone's making a joke or giving a criticism to a particular community about something, right? They try to spin it in a way where it's like he's desensitizing hatred towards a community, which really don't make no sense, because motherfuckers that don't like certain ethnic groups don't really need excuses. I don't know if they've ever talked to like a racist old white man who don't like black people. He don't need no excuses for why he doesn't like black people. Like,
and his facts is gonna be wrong.
Exactly.
Like, well, you know, Martin Luther King, he was a communist.
You know, exactly.
It's like, well, what ground do you, like, they'll just throw something out there like, I don't like y'all because y'all not human. Like, he'll just throw some shit out there, and it's like,
I can't really refute that, because if you don't think that I'm human, there's not really much that I can do about that. You know what I'm saying?
So you saying, like, they think that there was a malicious plot to this, is what they're saying?
Yeah, I think it's weird. I think that, what's the best way to say this? I think that they're trying to use any type of criticism or any type of, or even just like, not even necessarily a criticism, just something that you necessarily notice. Like, it can be a coincidence that you notice, and any type of coincidence, like, you know what I'm saying? And he made the point too. It's like, all right, there's a bunch of black people in Ferguson. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't necessarily mean like that we own the spot, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's the same thing for Jewish people in entertainment. There is a lot of Jewish people in entertainment. Does that mean that they have a cabal in entertainment? No, nigga. Like,
I think you summed that up. If for me to even keep commenting on it, I would just basically be repeating you. So like, I'm gonna take it to another spot in this. I couldn't help but when I was watching this shit feel like, okay, Dave Chappelle has transcended comedian at this point. He's like our Dick Gregory in a sense. Like, he's our, before all the bullshit, Bill Cosby, in the sense of like, he's no longer just a comedian, he's a black voice. To the point where it's like, when something happens, we kind of want to know what he thinks as blacks. Like, he kind of brought his Ja Rule joke to life for himself in a sense, which is ironic. The "Where's Ja?" It's like, I don't know, maybe just as a nigga that's a big Dave Chappelle fan, I always kind of find myself like, well, what does Dave Chappelle think about this? You know what I mean? Do you like, I feel like this is one of the first times I saw him walk with that charisma or do his stand up with that knowing in him. Like, it seemed like that was carried in his aura. Like, they even said he's now hosted SNL more times than Eddie Murphy, this being his third time. I feel like he had kind of like a black spokesperson swagger to him, and where like he also can't be bought, and I think he has the power to wear that. Do you get that same vibe, or where do you think he's at right now?
I mean, in terms of like great black speakers and great orators, you know, he's definitely at the top right now. I mean, the thing that makes Dave Chappelle so brilliant is that he has a way of being able to take things that are very complex and make them digestible to people who may not necessarily understand or be a part of that particular culture. They may not understand, you know, exactly his examples or where they're coming from. You know, he comes from, you know, the DC area in the 80s. You know what I'm saying? Where there was mad crack and crime, and he's able to break that kind of down. When you grow up in that, and this is something that I you know, see with my parents, and I know you probably see it with your parents too. Like, it's a certain level of self-awareness that I feel like a lot of our generation lacks, mainly because of the fact that a lot of, especially our generation and Gen Z too, because, you know, we've been, you know, so used to being on the internet and stuff, and on the internet, life can kind of be fabricated, and when everybody has to be outside and everybody just got beepers, there's more real life that happens. And when there's more real life that happens, it's it's so much more, exactly. It's so much easier to see life for how it really is and be able to break it down and explain it to other people.
That's a great way to put that. That is a great way to put that, because it's like you're forced to be more observant.
Yeah, you are.
There's less to tune you out.
Exactly. There's less distraction.
And there's less personal distraction too, because remember, even in that time, niggas was walking down the street listening to music, but they listening with their boombox. So, which causes more of a community interaction.
Exactly. And here's another thing too that's important, because Dave Chappelle he's always said, like, I don't think Kanye is crazy, right? And you also got to understand, there's a lot of people that don't think Kanye is crazy. Most of the people who think that Kanye is like crazy, like, they aren't the people who have grown up in 80s around crackheads. Like, that's not them. They're the people who have grown up a little bit more isolated, and that's the same thing, because it's like, I think that, like, just like Dave Chappelle said, he might be mentally unwell. Like, he might be unwell, right? He might be stressed out. He might be unwell. But do I think he's crazy? No, because I've seen actual crazy people in the hood. I've seen people in the hood, you know, sitting there peeing and drinking their pee as it comes out of them.
You know, that kind of brings it even back to the Kodak thing that we were saying. In like, yo, a lot, like, we're not seeing celebrities do things that we don't see normal people do. They just have a different light on them, you know?
Definitely.
I think that the Dave Chappelle thing is them being upset is a headline thing. I think that now, because I'm gonna be honest, I didn't know there was an anti-defamation league until this.
And what the fuck is an anti-defamation league? What are y'all niggas, like the Justice League? What the
Niggas
fuck?
gonna hop out and start putting
saying?
niggas in headlocks.
Yeah, man. Do y'all have a fucking headquarters or something? Or do y'all niggas meet at a round table or something? Like, how exactly does that even work?
Yeah, I've never.
Do y'all just send emails and meet up?
Anti-Defamation League sounds like a really bad straight edge hardcore band. We're the Anti-Defamation League. Yeah. I can't help but feel that now a lot of cancel culture is being used as marketing. I think like now canceling someone allows you to get your name in the headline. Same as when we saw Goodwill say they're not accepting Yeezys, even though nobody was bringing Yeezys to Goodwill. They were selling them online for triple the price. I think this is just a whole PR thing. Like especially with like someone like Dave Chappelle, I feel like a lot of people that have like a lot of groups that have certain agendas, you know, when he talks, it's like their fingers on the button. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. It's like he's hot, like in the sense of like, exactly. All right, we know he's gonna say something that we could take and make him the enemy. And I don't know. I do you even think Dave Chappelle was necessarily even trying to even stand up for anybody, or was he just doing an act? Like,
I don't think. See, here's the thing, right? I don't think that he's trying to stand up for anybody because it ain't his responsibility to stand up for anybody, right? Because even at the end, it's only really his responsibility to stand up for himself, right? That's really what it is. And what Dave Chappelle notices, that's what's going on in today's culture, is he has to. I know exactly what he feels. He feels like I have to say something now, because if I don't say something now, eventually they will come for me. They will come. I will be next. They've already tried. So if I don't say nothing now, and that's a lot. That's a lot what you hear from Bill Burr, and you're starting to hear more of this, right? It's kind of like you're starting to hear more older comedians, whether it's Louis C.K. or Bill Burr or Dave Chappelle or even sometimes Chris Rock, having more political opinions, because it's like if you don't say anything, eventually you won't be able to say shit. They already know that.
Can I be a devil's avocado for the sake of convo?
Please.
Because I don't necessarily feel this way.
Yeah.
But do you think one could argue, right? Because I thought of this too. I always try to look at everything from every different angle. Like, I always try to put myself in other people's shoes when people are offended.
Definitely. Not
really that I give a fuck.
Yeah.
It's just that I'm trying to understand.
Exactly.
So, do you think, like, with Dave Chappelle, right, being one of the quote-unquote, I would say he was one of the first people to get canceled. Yeah. Like, he was the first one with a cancel attempt on him with his show, them labeling him a crackhead, and with it not being true and there being an honorable reason behind it. He is kind of like the black guy that didn't do it but got locked up and then came home and was like, police are corrupt. Do you think that it's fair for some people to maybe look at him and go, his opinion can easily be shaped by his experience, in the sense of when it comes to certain people that shouldn't be offered the same credence, he will offer it? And once again, this isn't my opinion, but I was trying to put myself in that opposite brain of thinking. Like, what if, because the fact that this nigga really was framed, you know, he's leaning more on the side of when he sees something going on, he thinks that it's going to be unfair to blacks. Yeah. When sometimes that may not be the case. What do you think about that?
You know what? And this is about to kind of get deep here, right?
Like, again, we're back.
Yeah, right?
We're back. We're back.
This kind of reminds me of, because we got to remember that even during the monologue, and this is important, Dave Chappelle said that, you know, the reason why I don't do anything is because one day they might try to steal my sneakers, and y'all niggas didn't listen to me. Y'all didn't listen to me when I said that, right? And here we are. Here's Kanye West, bare feet in the street without no chain. And you know what the exact shit that reminds me of? And it's crazy because it all comes back full circle, right, to this whole anti-Semitism thing, right? It reminds me of a story, right, called Nights, right, by a guy named Ellie Wessel, right? And Ellie Wessel was a young boy who was captured by the Nazis and had to live part of his life in a concentration camp, right? And what's crazy that in the beginning of that book, right?
We find out he was black. No, I'm
Yeah,
joking.
right? So was
he was the original Hebrew.
right?
No, my bad. My fault. It was too easy.
Funny.
You sent me that layup. I had to slam dunk it.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
man. Yeah,
But
man.
my fault. In the beginning of the story.
Oh.
No, we good. We good.
All right, yeah, he just got real black. It was a light on me. All right, but there was a character in the book, right? And anyone who's read this, you know, you can also, you know, jog your memory. This might jog your memory of this part. There was a character in the book who everyone in the town, right, that Ellie Russell was living in, thought was crazy, right? And every day he would stand outside and he would tell people that Nazis are coming and they're gonna kidnap people and they're gonna kill people and they're gonna take all their shit, and everyone thought this motherfucker was crazy, right? And he would stand outside, and Ellie Russell was kind of the only one that really kind of believed him, right? And he keeps saying this shit, and one day he disappears. No one sees this motherfucker. And then the next couple of days after that, the Nazis come in, right? To me, Dave Chappelle is that nigga that was standing there in the square yelling at everybody.
The Ellie Wessel nigga.
Not Ellie Wessel,
Oh.
because he was just a young boy. Like, he was just a young boy. But to me, Dave Chappelle was the nigga in the square telling everybody that motherfucking the Nazis is coming.
That is true.
That's who Dave Chappelle to me is right now. And nobody fucking listens.
I agree with that. I just think that, and once again, this is just still be playing the devil's avocado, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let me not even say I think that.
Yeah.
I think that is true. However, I've seen Dave Chappelle do stand-up acts where he kind of leans on the defense of people that probably wouldn't ride with Dave Chappelle. So I don't necessarily draw any conclusion from that, right? I'm just saying that I think the argument from another side and another mind could still say, well, the fact that happens to him, he thinks it's happening to everybody. You know what I mean? Because, like, I don't necessarily agree with that, but I do think that, you know, if I had to put an opinion on that, if I had to voice my opinion on it, first off, it's comedy, so, you know, joke about it. Like, we shouldn't take it that serious. It is comedy. Yeah. But also, I think Dave Chappelle too generous to some of these niggas. I think Dave Chappelle will shoot bail for a lot of niggas that would not really come stand next to Dave Chappelle in the way that he would stand next to them. Yeah. Because what we're essentially seeing here is Dave Chappelle is standing next to niggas. He's not trying to, but there was a certain level of sincerity in his voice, even when their names came up, that I just felt like, you know, he doesn't want to see his, like, Kanye West was one of his first guests on the show as a musical guest. Yes. I can imagine Kyrie Irving and Dave Chappelle have probably crossed paths many a time to where I don't know. I think Dave Chappelle will bail a lot of niggas out that still kept their Netflix subscription when he was telling y'all niggas not to, or the HBO and was still watching the Chappelle show when he was asking them to boycott. And I guess that just comes with being, you know. Does that come with being a black voice, that you're gonna ride for niggas that ain't gonna ride for you, or do you even agree with the fact that he's too generous? I kind of I hope I didn't lay that out too confusing, but I'm just keeping it real right
based
here.
On what I've seen from Dave Chappelle, like, Dave Chappelle is the type of person who looks at things like he looks at things through his own bias and tries to break them down so they can be as impartial as they possibly can. Like, during the monologue when he said, like, after Trump won, the Democrats were a sore loser, and that made me feel bad as a Democrat. Like, he's able to see something and recognize that something's kind of shitty, and still be like, you know what, maybe we should give this nigga a chance, right?
Because
it's like,
point.
like he is because he was one of, and to that point, right? He was probably one of the only black celebrities who was saying, let's give this nigga Trump a chance. I mean, you know, we've given George W. Bush a chance. Like, how can this be really any worse?
But you know what? That's another example of him riding for niggas that won't ride for him back. I guarantee
I don't think it's riding, though.
Not riding, but he'll stand next to people. Like, all right, standing next to niggas that won't necessarily always stand next to him. Like, which I think is honorable. I just want to make that, you know, be known. And I don't know if that's his intent, but even with him saying, yo, I'm a Democrat, right? as a Democrat, I felt this. Like, he's still involving, he's not separating himself from the group. But I guarantee you, not saying they were right or wrong or whatever the case may be, because although I could say they're wrong in the Anti-Defamation League and the people that are offended are wrong in this particular case, I don't want to speak for a whole every time niggas have been mad at Dave Chappelle, because it's happened so much that I would have to go by a case-by-case basis. But I would be willing to bet 95% of people that have been offended by Dave Chappelle were Democratic, if they even associated with him.
Yeah,
exactly.
Exactly.
And that's kind of going to what I'm saying.
Well, I was gonna say that goes back to, it's like, you can call yourself something, but regardless of if you call yourself something, right? If that group, if that group excludes you, it doesn't really matter, right? Dave Chappelle can call himself a feminist, and he has before. But if a bunch of women feel as if he's not a feminist, I mean, it doesn't really matter. It's just a title. It's just words. You know what I'm saying? And he can truly feel like he's a feminist, but other people who are feminists feel like he's not. That's why all these titles and shit really don't mean anything. Like Democrat, Republican, none of these shits really mean anything. Like,
all in all, I love the monologue. I loved it. I always love when Dave Chappelle puts a monologue out. I love when he's on Chappelle's show. I mean, when he's on SNL, because it basically becomes like an episode of Chappelle's show, because he brings back all his characters. I enjoyed it. I don't think he said nothing crazy. I don't think there was nothing really there to be offended about. That's my stance on it.
No, I think at this point in time, people just look for stuff to be offended about. I mean, Dave Chappelle is one of the greatest comedians all damn time.
Yeah.
And he has a way of just breaking down things to a digestible way, to where everyone can kind of see, you can kind of see the wizard behind the curtain, if you will. You know what I'm saying? You can kind of see how the Wizard of Oz works.
I think our generation enjoys seeing Dave Chappelle's career unfold more than any other generation could ever understand, because I think we were the youngest generation to be able to watch the Chappelle show come out every week, understand the jokes, find them funny, come to school laughing about it, like, because we were young as fuck during that time.
Definitely.
So I would find it hard to believe that any generation beneath us was watching that, because we weren't even really supposed to be watching it. You know what I mean? And to see him starting out from just the Chappelle show and like If You Knew, You Knew, to then becoming, I'm going to go on the ledge and say a voice of the black people. It's crazy. It's one of the craziest things I've ever seen in my lifetime, as far as like started from the bottom, now we here. You know what I'm saying? Especially like the honorableness, like his level of honor in that road too. You know,
I don't consider necessarily Dave Chappelle a voice for the black people, because as a black person, I'm not going to put all my faith in a person, especially who is an entertainer. Like, that's just me personally. Like, because I actually look up to a bunch of black leaders, but I will say this: like, as a person who is an entertainer, he has definitely done the most to kind of to just voice his opinion. Like he's also going to his own like political town square and has spoken at his town square about the projects that are being built. So I don't even look at him as a voice just for black people. He is a person who understands what truth is, and he understands that at the end of the day, and this is a lot of his comedy, at the end of the day, people are going to feel this way anyway. So it's like, we might as well say this shit, and we might as well make a joke about it. We might as well laugh. Like, we might as well laugh. Like, cut all the bull crap. Cut all the bullshit. For real.
He's like the martyr of comedians, I would say.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't really know anybody else that's stepping on the ledge like he is, taking the shots that come with it, and is still funny. You know, like, a lot of niggas could just, and that's the thing, is like, he's not just going out there saying Jew, trans, fuck, faggot, bitch, nigger. Like, he's making sense out of what he's saying, to the point where it's like, all right, we can still find the humor in these things. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not just being edgy for the sake of being edgy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Definitely.
Like, so I think, like,
his edge has a point.
I don't think there's a better comedian in the game than Dave Chappelle right now. I don't think we've seen one in our lifetime. Have we?
No.
I really can't. I can't.
Definitely
like,
not. I love a bunch. There's a bunch of comedians that I love. There's a bunch of newer comedians that I love. There's a bunch of younger comedians that I love. But no one, at least in this generation, has been able to break down just the the double standards of society and the social construct that we have here. You know what I'm saying? No one's been able to break that down the way he has.
In a relatable way too. Like it's like he puts it right in front of you. But you know, I enjoyed it. Did you catch any of the other skits? It was pretty funny.
No, I didn't catch any of the skits. I don't watch SNL like that anymore.
You know what I like about when Dave Chappelle go on SNL?
Why? What's up?
He helped give my man Keenan the black pass. Like he be holding Keenan down. I feel like he be pulling Keenan to the side. Like I know what you're thinking, buddy. Like I know how you feel. Like you're around all these white people. Like I got you, my nigga. Like you know what I'm saying?
We're gonna put some stank on this.
You know what I'm saying?
We're gonna put some stank.
Yo, what do you think what do you think Paul Mooney would have to say about Keenan Thompson? Son?
Oh
like,
my
goodness. Like you think Wayne Brady was offended?
That's
that
what
nigga will hurt that nigga feelings.
Yeah,
but yo,